$42 million. That's not just money. That's 10 years of my life, my savings, my sanity, all poured into saving my older brother Julian from himself. And for that sacrifice, I got a framed certificate for productivity. Julian Hart, the celebrated CEO of the Hart family firm, was standing on stage accepting an award for legacy. He was soaking up the spotlight he didn't earn, and I, Cassandra Hart, the architect of his false success, was waiting in the shadows. The moment he finished his arrogant speech, I walked into the light, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "The Legacy Award belongs to the woman who covered your $42 million debt." Quick, dramatic cuts, the USB drive, a screaming Julian, a headline flashing on a screen. This is the extended, uncensored story of how I used a single USB drive to dismantle my family's empire and claim the power I earned. Have you ever had to choose between protecting your family name and saving your own soul? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if you want to see how the quiet one wins the war, hit that like button and subscribe now. This is the truth. You absolutely must watch this entire story to the very end. In the Hart household, my mother, Eleanor, maintained a strict hierarchy. Julian, 5 years older, was the golden son. I was the useful daughter. Julian got the front row seat at the dining table and the latest sports car. I got the library card and the expectation of silence. My mother saw Julian's charm as leadership and my quiet competence as a lack of ambition. Our father, Robert, was different. He rarely praised, but he watched. I excelled in math. Julian excelled at spending. When I was 15, Julian, then 20, was tasked with managing a small training portfolio. He lost $10,000 in 6 months through sheer ego, refusing to hedge a disastrous tech stock. Father called me into his study. He pushed the ledger toward me. "Cassandra, tell me what this means." I didn't panic. I analyzed the data, identified the flaw, and suggested 2 precise, aggressive options for recovery. Robert didn't say a word. He just nodded and told me to leave. 3 weeks later, I received a package. It was a single share deed for every one of the Hart Family Investment Group's entities, signed and dated, with a single handwritten note. "You have the Fidelity, Cassandra. Remember the vault." That small stack of paper wasn't an investment. It was a covert legal signal. It was my father's insurance policy against the chaos he knew Julian would bring. It marked the moment I became the secret fiduciary guardian of the Hart legacy. Julian was groomed for the throne. I was groomed for the engine room. I finished my advanced degrees early and was immediately placed into the firm's compliance division, a sophisticated title for the person who fixed the numbers Julian messed up. My office was my command center, soundproof, climate-controlled, and filled with servers. Julian's office was all glass and mahogany, built for applause. He was the face of wealth. I was the source of it. The true crisis hit 10 years ago. Julian, against father's explicit advice, gambled heavily on a single failing energy sector. It wasn't just a loss, it was a criminal level of financial negligence that could have led to civil lawsuits. My father spent his final months desperately covering the $30 million loss, routing funds through complex offshore shell corporations, and mortgaging his own private estate, all to keep Julian's name clean. This stress is what killed him. When the will was read, Julian got the firm and the chairmanship. I got the small trust fund and the secret box containing the high-security keycard, the access code, Fidelity, and the unsigned Codicil. The Codicil wasn't just an instruction. It was a formal legal mechanism stating, should Julian Hart engage in fiscally reckless behavior resulting in an internal capital drain exceeding $5 million within 10 years, Cassandra Hart shall be immediately elevated to the position of controlling shareholder. It confirmed everything. Father knew Julian was a disaster waiting to happen. He didn't disinherit Julian. He gave me the power to execute a takeover if Julian failed his last chance. Question for you. If your parent left you a secret document that could expose a sibling's massive mistake, Would you use it? Comment below, yes or no. My 10 years weren't a passive wait, they were a constant, desperate cleanup. Julian's incompetence was systematic. My sacrifice became quantifiable, $42 million. Here are 3 specific, documented instances of his recklessness, all contained in the Ghost Ledger. The Yacht Fund Cover-Up, 2018. Julian needed $5 million for a luxury asset. He covertly liquidated a long-term bond portfolio earmarked for employee pensions, attempting to hide the transaction in a convoluted derivative package. I, using my access to the internal fund flows, immediately replaced the liquidated funds using my entire personal trust fund, logging the transfer as a high-priority corporate reserve allocation. Julian signed the form without reading it. Cost, $5 million of my personal capital. The Silicon Mirage, 2020. Julian publicly invested $12 million in a failing tech startup solely because its CEO was his golf buddy. The investment sank immediately. To prevent the massive stock write-down from triggering a mandatory board review, I executed a highly illegal but technically feasible internal trade wash to absorb the loss across 14 different entities, slowing the bleed over 18 months. I had to monitor this trade daily. Cost, 18 months of near-constant professional anxiety and $12 million in recovered losses, value saved. The Compliance Catastrophe, 2023. Julian missed a crucial regulatory deadline, resulting in a mandatory fine of $3 million. He decided to pay the fine and simply falsify the internal report to the board, claiming it was a tax adjustment. I caught the discrepancy, paid the fine twice, once officially, once to cover the discrepancy, and restructured the payment logs to make the original error vanish entirely. Cost, $3 million in direct cover funds and my professional ethics. This continuous, exhausting process meant I lived under constant risk. Every time I covered for him, I was leveraging my own career and freedom. 6 months before the gala, Julian had the audacity to throw his team appreciation dinner. He gave Mr. Sterling, the head of ops, who simply executed my instructions, a full equity partnership and a massive bonus for unflinching loyalty. He gave me the framed certificate. I didn't need the bonus. I needed acknowledgement that my 10 years of professional triage were recognized. The certificate was a statement. We acknowledge your effort, but never your worth. That night, I opened my safe, retrieved the unsigned codicil, and told my lawyer to prepare the suit. The time for silence was over. The time for fidelity had arrived. The USB drive wasn't just files. It was a strategic weapon. I categorized the evidence for maximum legal impact. The capital drain. The 42 million proof, specifically linking my personal transactions to Julian's failed investments, proving the Codicil's financial breach. The recordings, proof of willful ignorance. Audio of Julian dismissing my official warnings. Cassandra, you worry too much. The market is fine. Go adjust the reports. This proved negligence, not just error. The Phoenix Plan, my detailed 90-day restructuring roadmap. This wasn't revenge. It was a succession plan, legally demonstrating I was the only competent candidate to save the firm. The unsigned codicil, the key, a legally sound, witness document only requiring proof of breach to be enforced under the firm's founding articles. I sent the board and the general counsel the cryptic email, giving them a chance to comply before the public announcement. They ignored it. They chose Julian. I emptied my apartment, sold everything, and checked into an untraceable, non-corporate residency under an alias. I wore a simple black dress to the gala, the professional uniform of an anonymous analyst. The USB was encrypted, tucked into a secure internal pocket, a legal ticking bomb against Julian's public celebration. Midscript CTA. Are you still here? Good. The confrontation is next. This is the moment I risked everything. If you're still watching, type FIDELITY in the comments right now. It's the secret code that kept the firm alive. I waited until the crowd was at its loudest. I walked out from the shadows, directly toward the general counsel, Mr. Davies, who looked terrified. "Mr. Davies," I said, loud enough for nearby board members to hear, "I assume you received my email regarding the critical compliance status." Davies stammered, "Cassandra, now is not the time. Julian is receiving an award." "He is receiving an award for success I personally purchased for $42 million, I corrected, stepping past Davies and directly into Julian's personal space. Julian finally saw me, his face freezing in shock. "What is the meaning of this, Cassandra? Get out!" "I am here to address a catastrophic failure of fiduciary duty," I stated, my voice measured and sharp. Mother rushed forward, her face a mask of fury. "You are ruining Julian's night. This family is humiliated." "Mother, Julian humiliated this family when he misused $42 million and tried to cover it up," I retorted, letting my eyes sweep over the appalled board members. I pulled out the summary sheet. Julian lunged. I sidestepped him and handed the paper directly to the lead reporter, Sarah Jenkins, from the Portland Business Journal. "Sarah," I addressed her by name, demanding attention. "This is proof of a massive financial cover-up involving Hart Investments. The number is $42 million. Ask Julian Hart why this debt was only serviced by funds traced directly back to Cassandra Hart's private account." Julian roared, "That paper is fabricated!" I held up the USB drive. It is not fabricated. It is the truth. And this drive holds 10 years of documented evidence, including the unsigned Codicil, which legally transfers control of this entire organization to me, effective Monday morning. I then looked at Mother, whose face was collapsing. "I never needed a seat at your table. I only needed control of the steering wheel. And now I have it." I turned, leaving the USB with Mr. Davies, and walked out. The last sight was Sarah Jenkins, phone pressed to her ear, yelling, "Stop the press! We have the story!" I arrived at the firm Monday at 9:55 a.m. Davies and the lawyers were waiting. At 10 a.m., I presented the full evidence, including the chilling audio recordings, to the board. They voted unanimously to execute the Codicil's terms. Julian was immediately placed on unpaid administrative leave pending a massive internal and regulatory review. Julian didn't accept it. He tried to launch a counterattack. He had his private security detail attempt to lock me out of the system. But he forgot one thing. I built the system. I had already rerouted control through a proxy server in my basement office, making his lockout attempt useless. Julian's last desperate move was to leak a fabricated story to a minor rival publication that I was an unstable, vengeful sister trying to steal his legacy out of spite. The Portland Business Journal responded with a front-page exposé based on my evidence, entitled "The Analyst CEO: How Cassandra Hart Saved the Hart Legacy from Its Golden Son." Julian's narrative was instantly crushed. My mother called again, not crying, but coldly furious. "You are destroying Julian's name. He is your brother." "I did not destroy his name, Mother," I replied. "He spent 10 years destroying his name. I just stopped fixing the resulting damage. You taught me the value of integrity through Father's lessons. I am simply practicing that lesson." I never saw Julian again. His shame and the looming legal consequences kept him away. I sit in the corner office now. I still spend my mornings in the basement, where the truth lives. The firm is now stable, ethical, and thriving. I'm known as the Analyst CEO. I achieved everything I ever wanted: professional vindication and the clean, silent knowledge of my own worth. I look at the nameplate on my desk. It reads, Cassandra Hart, Chairperson. The true legacy isn't the name or the money. It's the fidelity, the loyalty to truth, competence, and self-worth. I didn't steal the firm. I earned it. If you made it this far, you are dedicated. This story is proof that the quiet ones hold the greatest power. If this story resonated with your own struggles for recognition, I want you to smash that like button right now. Every like validates the quiet work we all do. I have so much more to tell you about how I fixed the $42 million worth of damage. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next video in this series. And please share this video with anyone who needs to know that their silent work matters. Thank you for watching to the very end. You are seen, you are powerful.